You know what a neuroleptic is? It is a cis-trans-racemic mixture. For instance, neuroleptics will cause various damage to a human body. They will cause cardio problems. They will cause diabetes. They will cause sexual dysfunction. So then psychiatrists can come in and test another drug. So, for instance, when neuroleptics caused tardive dyskinesia in me, it's a Parkinsonian symptom where you twist all over the place. I'll try and demonstrate what it was. One of the most disturbing form of that for me was when the tongue was moving all over the place, but I can't demonstrate it. It's too. It was too painful. Other kinds of movements, constant neck movements. It's just really horrible. It's not like a tick because it's a poison that's causing it. It is intensely painful because the movement is about a distress that's happening to the human body, and it's also a distress being caused, a poisoning being caused by your government, by the people that are said to be benevolent doctors, benevolent psychiatrists. They're helping people. And this is what the people follow and believe. And when I see youthful people spouting that dogma, I just think, how could you be so stupid? How could you think that is a human rights movement? Can't you see? Can't you sense what is happening to people? Can't you hear what people are saying? Can't you communicate in some way with people? What is it about the people that are persecuted by psychiatrists, by our government, that they're somehow put into this category that when they say that this is wrong, they're not allowed a platform to speak. So therefore, when they speak, they're dismissed as this other nothing, not authorized, not validated, not something to be recognized as authentic. What does it take? I mean, with animals, you can put cameras on the ships. You can show the pictures of the animals being tortured. Can you do that in a psych ward? Can you put cameras in there and beam it onto TV to show all the people being injured and infantilized and beaten up? To see how the psych nurses and the psychiatrists talk about people? No, because that would be against the law. Occasionally there'll be some videos on YouTube talking about these things, and you'll hear a person maybe talking to camera like I'm at the moment, who will tell you about how these things happen. But no, you will not get the pictures beamed to TV to show you how horrible it is. You'll see pictures years and years later and say, oh, that's in the past. So you can look up pictures from 50 years ago, how people were tied up and operations done on them and put in isolation and, you know, all the things that were done to people over the years by forced psychiatry. And people don't realise some of those pictures are actually a picture of now. Some of those procedures have just slightly changed. It's not in the past, is it? Because people have merely let psychiatrists keep on going. There has been no legislative powerful changes apart from deinstitutionalisation, but that is actually meaningless because people are still being locked away forever for refusing to agree to what a psychiatrist says. So Garth Daniels, 20 years. What for? Disagreeing with a psychiatrist, not agreeing with everything that the psychiatrist says, defending himself against psychiatrists. What kind of country are we in where that's happening, where the population isn't thinking and looking at that and saying, this is really wrong, we've got to, you know, take 100,000 people down the street and make ourselves heard, make ourselves seen, get some sense happening with government legislators that we're not going to tolerate this kind of mass scale exploitation. We're talking millions of people. We're talking over 75,000 people murdered by psychiatrists each year. Each year. It's no small thing. It is persecution. We need to do something about it. It can't sit by and talk about, you know, cis-trans-racemic mixtures as your personalities or something. It's a fucking neuroleptic. And chemists will come up with all sorts of stuff to sell their shit. And if you're going to fall for those fashioning tricks, I just think, well, you know, fashion is fashion, but forced psychiatry is forced psychiatry, and whatever your identity or all those things that you think about too much in your youth because that's what you do, good on you, but don't fall for their tricks. Don't become a human experiment by volunteering yourself for these things. Well, you'll regret it, but please do something about stopping the use of force, because if people want to volunteer for these things, they can't get any of the information that they need to know that these things will be harmful while there's still use of forced psychiatry. Because when there's the force there by the government legislators, you got whistleblowers being locked away. You got people not only when they speak out in the workplace being threatened with the loss of their job, they also get threatened with forced psychiatry. So this is no small thing. This is a really scary thing in our society. And it's just got worse and worse, as in more and more of the population is being forced into this. exploited by this. And anyone who says that they're okay with it, they may well have been indoctrinated into believing that. They may well be a born-again psych patient. They might also be spruiking for forced psychiatry because it pays. They may also be saying these things because they fear if they don't say these things, that psychiatry is all good, that they will get dragged off again. There was a time for several points in time where I had to do that. Just after I'd been dragged off and subjected to forced injection, massive doses and arbitrary detention in a psych unit. It took me 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks, and I went to asked for a tribunal hearing so I could get free from arbitrary detention. Sometimes I would get a lawyer, actually very rarely. But each time I realized, I thought that my friends, like I had friends, maybe family, that would come in and support me and say, what are you doing? You can't do this to her. This is wrong. And they would launch a protest and they'd get me free. But that each time I tried that, I realized after the tribunal, and the massive doses and the isolation and my pens taken away from me, and all my thinking and abilities shut down to, like 5% of me. That's all I had left. My nervous system shut down, so I just could no longer be really the human being that I was, not able to communicate, drooling mess. In that state, just thinking, well, is there any way I can get free? Is there any way I can lower the dose? And there, the white coats, the psychiatrists, the psych nurses, they're saying, well, you have to agree that with the diagnosis, you have to agree that this treatment is good for you. And so I thought, okay, this is what I have to do. I have to smile after the psychiatrist sticks that prick in me, or a psych nurse rather, but it's ordered by the psychiatrist. I have to say thank you, like I wanted it. After they hand me more pills, I have to say, oh yeah, okay. Thank you. Even though these things are really, really, really painful and hurting me, I have to play this acting role, this part, this idea that they're somehow being kind and merciful and benevolent, when they're being the most evil people on earth to me. So I did that. It's called playing the game. Played the game each time over a 14-year period when they did that to me, and I wrangled free. In those, eventually they torture you in the community as well, and if you seem non-compliant, so you're not submissive enough, not kissing ass enough, they will haul you into the psych ward again, put you through those massive doses again. That's the nature of this thing. So I recognised that for a while there, I had to say to everybody, oh yeah, it's all good, because you don't. I mean, who can you trust? Who can you trust to say this is wrong? This is massively wrong, and I don't want this to happen to me, when you've tried to get free, and even when your friends or acquaintances or the people you call in are supportive, that still doesn't go, they just get ignored. They get belittled. They get discredited. So I understand where it's coming from when people play that part. But you know what? It's not okay. It's not okay that people are forced to please their torturers. Not in any way is that okay. Not in any way is it okay to have a system so abusive that people are broken under torture and forced to submit to what is the death of them, what will be the death of them. Slow poisoning to death at 24/7 pain and suffering, just so horrible, because it takes away your ability. What we value more than anything is being able to communicate and think and move, and your nervous system shut down by neuroleptics, those cis-trans-racemic mixtures. Shut down by that, by some sort of horrid experiment, very lucrative, horrid experiment for the white coats. You're not meant to be okay with that. Society, you're just not meant to be okay with that.